18 minutes after the hour. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend wherever you are. We're at Dove Mountain, where the Ritz-Carlton is, and I'm joined by our good pal, Joe Sharkey. You read him every Tuesday in the New York Times, and he actually admits to living here. And you've been here for a while now.
I have. I love Tucson.
It's nice to have you actually in person.
Yes, thank you.
Usually we do this on the phone. I know.
Yeah. Nice to be at this part of town, too. It's beautiful up here.
Question for you. You know, you heard me say $5.7 billion in ancillary fees, and as travelers, I don't think anybody wants to negate the airline's opportunity to make a profit. But the question is full disclosure and transparency, and people getting beaten up.
Well, $5.7 billion in fees. Everybody's sort of repeating that figure and forgetting that last year the figure was $7.8 billion. So what happened this year was the Transportation Department had a different set of reporting standards. So you're only looking at fees, Peter, for $5.7 billion for check bags and for change fees.
But
all the other
not
stuff,
for pillows and blankets.
That's not included anymore because everybody's fighting. The airlines are fighting. They're dug in. The Transportation Department is trying to strangle the airlines to get the information. We don't really know what the full amount of ancillary fee revenue is for 2010, but it's around 10 to 12 billion.
But here's the interesting part for me: the airlines now, and you know, if I'm a butcher, chances are I would make my money from selling you meat, not from making you pay to look at the scale.
Right.
The airlines make more money from ancillary fees than they make from operating the airline.
The ancillary fees are definitely why the airlines, to the extent they're profitable, are profitable. That's true. Yeah.
And so now that we've all bought into this now, we don't have a choice, right? We've all bought into it. We all know. And then other ancillary, using ancillary is another term here, but other ancillary marketers are using that to say, hey, if you get an American Express card from Delta, then you don't have to pay the first bag fee.
I know,
Right?
And that's why it gets so complicated because, you know, there are about 200 different fees. And depending on what kind of status you have, you either do or do not pay the fee. And nobody can figure out, you know, all I want to know is, what does it cost? Just tell me what it costs, then I'll decide whether I want to buy it. And you know, and I kind of understand the airline's position on this.
But you see, they call it a la carte pricing.
A la carte pricing, right? Yeah, yeah. But I mean, when I go to a restaurant, they don't also charge me for the knife and fork. You know, so where does the cart start?
So there was a great cartoon in the New Yorker the other day with a flight attendant doing the in-flight safety demonstration, saying, in the event of a loss of pressure, the oxygen mask will be dropping down. That'll be $2.
That will be $2, right? Yeah. You know, and it's just too complicated, and I can't figure out. I go to book a fare now, and you know, I'm perfectly willing to pay $15 extra for an aisle seat toward the front because I don't qualify with elite status, maybe. Okay, I'll pay that, but you know, give me an idea up front what it costs. And if I'm a corporate travel manager,
how do you manage the budget?
More to the point, how do you manage the budget? How do you plan? These fees they're often subsumed in other sums. It's really hard. So I think the industry and the airlines as well, I think the airlines are probably ready to listen to this. Let's all get on the same page and decide what numbers we're using. Let's just settle on the numbers. I mean, the Transportation Department has a set of numbers. Analysts have different numbers. Let's settle on what it costs and just start from there.
Because people have a right to be able to reasonably budget their travel expenses.
Well, if it's a menu, make it like a menu.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get surprises when I go to a restaurant and you know, choose from the menu. I have a pretty good idea what it's going to cost. I think we're moving in that direction. I hope we are. And you know, I think the conversation that's now being had is, okay, how are we going to? The airlines don't want to, you know, give up everything they have. They don't want to give up all their information. I understand that. They say McDonald's doesn't have to account for all its French fries. But let's just settle on a consensus with what we're charging so we can budget.
Let's go back to McDonald's for a second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you go to a McDonald's, you know what a Big Mac costs. You know what the fries cost. You're buying everything. And you even know what a Big Mac meal costs.
You do, but the government, you know, McDonald's doesn't have to tell the government.
No, but at least they're telling us.
They're telling us, that's right.
Right? Now, whether you choose to go to McDonald's or not, you know, they don't talk about the medical operation that has to happen later. But the bottom line is, at least you know what you're paying.
That's true, yeah.
And now you got the airports lining up. You did another story about saying that now they want to raise fees.
Well, the airports have a minimum of $4.50 per ticket that they can charge you or me. They say they...
And that's a passenger facility charge?
A passenger facility charge. They say that the airlines are holding them back. The airports would like to have the option of boosting that. The airlines don't want the airports to use that money possibly because the airports can expand and maybe more competition will come in. Now, you and I know there's no competition waiting in the wings.
No. The cost of entry is just too high.
We can go 20 miles from here and buy 4 757s.
Park right in the desert.
Literally park 20 miles from
and turn them into a hostel.
And we could turn them into a hostel. Or an airline.
Now, your best deal of the day, I'm telling you, this cracked me up. I'm gonna quote from you. Joe Sharkey's Law. Every truly bad idea eventually has its day. Share with me, Joe. What is that one?
Every truly bad idea throughout history eventually does have its day. That's the Sharkey immutable law of human nature.
Right, but the one that I saw was where the kid gets to be the junior TSA agent. Come on.
Oh, and they're selling as a toy,
There's
like
a toy.
a wand.
You can frisk your neighbor.
Little Johnny can frisk his neighbor.
Does it come complete with a pair of rubber gloves?
I don't know, and an attitude.
And the manual says, little Johnny says, bend over. And it's like, I mean, oh my God.
Right.
I mean, unreal. I love that. It's called the security scanner spy gear, and and the kid gets to search for metal objects.
Yeah, isn't that a great way to condition your children?
Yeah.
You know, so. Every bad idea has its day.
Well, you know what? There are some other bad ideas out there. I mean,
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Probably some we don't even know about.
Well, you know, for example, when United Airlines had the computer meltdown the other day,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we are so dependent
Right.
on the computer that we don't know about manual overriding. It doesn't work. You know, I was at United Airlines
That's right.
a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get a ticket rewritten. Oh my God, you would think it was the Magna Carta coming out, right? And I said, and there were all these people behind the desk, and I said, gee, can somebody rewrite this ticket for me? They said, oh, we don't know how to do that. We're only here to answer kiosk problems. And I looked around, and I said, the kiosk is the problem.
Right.
If you can't rewrite the ticket, what are you doing here? They don't want them to.
You're the last guy I knew who used paper tickets. As a matter of principle, I remember that you used them. But as you know, the airlines took away the authority of a lot of their employees, their ticket agents. They no longer have the authority to override things, and I think that's what happened in this Delta mess.
They were told the rule is the rule. They were told
right. They enforced this rule. You guys cannot carry this bag.
You know what the rule is at Delta? And by the way, this is not just particular to Delta. It's an American. It's United. It comes from the top, and it says this: no waivers, no favors.
Right.
That's in the book, and they can get fired.
That's right.
They can literally, if you check in with a bag that weighs more than 50 pounds, and they don't charge you excess, they can get fired.
Yeah, because somebody's snooping around checking on them.
Exactly.
And they no longer have the authority to use common sense. And I think that's what happened with Delta with these military guys. I mean, years ago, I was in the military. I was in Vietnam, and Delta. I loved Delta because of the way they treated service people. Years ago, the gate agent would have said, come on now, we're not gonna be humps about this. We're gonna take the bag on it. It's okay. Right. But they don't have that authority anymore. So they enforced the letter of the law. And
but isn't it ironic that Delta management probably went to that person at the gate and said, you did that? Why did you do that? And the guy said, probably because you told me to do that.
Right.
That was in the rules.
Right. I'm sure that's what happened. And then Delta, of course, rushed out a press release saying, well, we changed our policy. They just look stupid.
I know.
You know, give some people some authority to make common sense decisions on the spot.
And there's your problem. I mean, you don't have common sense anymore because they're not allowed to have it. They're not allowed to have any discretionary thinking at the counter, at the gate, on the ramp, anywhere.
Yeah, that's what happened. The workforce is afraid. They've been battered. You hate to blame them because they're just afraid for their jobs.
Well, look, they're getting beaten up two ways. They're getting beaten up by their own management. They're getting beaten up by people who don't understand that they don't have any common sense anymore.
Well, I think I might have told you about a gate agent at Continental that I talked to, and she had been through one of these terrible days. And I said to her, how do you manage? And she said, Mr. Sharkey, I go home and I drink a lot.
Wow.
It's just a
Let's get her one of those security scanner toys. Right. She can start feeling people up at home. This is great. Oh my God, that's my. But you know what? It's true. And yet, when agents on the ground or at the counter level or at the gate level when they are allowed to actually think, they do more good than harm.
Sure, they do. They can fix a problem.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Or they can explain a problem.
They can explain it, right. Yeah.
Sometimes they can't fix it, but at least they can explain it.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And the company comes out looking better for it.
But the problem is the frontline people at airlines, and this is about across the board, are treated by their own management on a need-to-know basis. If they need to know, they don't even tell them.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. Even though the workforce has been reduced, in half in the past 10 years, it still doesn't have. You still have good people working on the front line, But they're being battered.
But what does have to be that way is every Tuesday you get to read Joe Sharkey in the New York Times, coming from his own computer, unless there's a computer meltdown in Tucson, Arizona. Thanks, Joe. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
When we come back, more from the Ritz-Carlton in Dove Mountain in Arizona.